Hello, and welcome to this demonstration on the manufacturing applications of SpaceClaim. In this demonstration, I'll show you a number of ways that you can use SpaceClaim to incorporate into your manufacturing or tooling application, either creating multiple production steps in a process or importing 2D geometry, changing to 3D, creating tooling off of geometry, even playing around with different design steps, say changing from a molding process to a machining process to a turning process, and playing around with different design variations. First thing that I'd like to do is show you that 2D to 3D import. So one of the powerful capabilities of SpaceClaim is the ability to open geometry from any CAD source. And so you can see a number of these file types here that we're able to import. One of those file types is AutoCAD DWG and DXF files. So we can bring a DWG or a DXF file into SpaceClaim and actually access all of the underlying geometry as if this were open natively in AutoCAD. So you can see that it brings in all of the dimensions, and if I switch to my layers tab, I have all the different layers here. I can toggle those layers on and off, again, as if I were natively within the AutoCAD application. But this is just brought in as a 2D print in SpaceClaim. So let's go ahead and start modeling off of this. One of the great things that we can do in SpaceClaim is just copy and paste. Whether that's surface geometry or in this case just line geometry, I can copy that over and create a new design, pasting that into my new design, and now being able to modify all three views as just surfaces in my 3D environment. So I can take these three views and just quickly use the move command to rotate those into the right orientation. And now I have my three views rotated correctly. And now I'm just going to position them correctly. So I'll go ahead and grab one of those views, re-anchoring my move handle, and using the move up to command to move them directly into place. Getting all three views in a 3D layout. Now I can easily go in and pull on any of these surfaces to create solids. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull my selected surfaces, creating a 3D block and using the pull up to command to reference the other ends of these faces to get the exact geometry I want. On the top of the part here, I can go in and box select just the inside faces, pulling those up or down directly, creating a through hole, and then selecting the other faces, pulling those up or down, and again using the up to command referencing the front view to pull it to the exact depth. I'll get rid of the original solids that I brought in from AutoCAD, and now I have my 3D block in SpaceClaim, and I can go and modify this any way that I want, pulling on any of these holes to change the diameter, or moving them around to a new location using the move tool, translating and rotating very easily. So you can see I can bring 2D geometry in and then make these modifications in SpaceClaim that I'm used to making easily on 3D models. Now back to this 2D print that I have, we also have a revolved part for this pulley. I can do the same sort of operations very easily making a revolve feature. So on the 2D print I can select what I want, click the fill command, it'll automatically fill in all of those bounded areas with surfaces. I can get rid of the ones that I don't want, and now use my pull command to pull the face that I do want, alt selecting a center reference, and hitting enter to create a revolve feature. Let's quickly change the color of that so we can see that a little bit better. I'll go ahead and hide the underlying 2D imported face. You can see that revolved pulley created there. I can easily modify any of the geometry, pulling on rounds to change the radius, or adding radius to some of the edges that don't already have it, or going in and using the fill command to defeature this, getting rid of some of these rounds. And pull on any of these faces to change the height. And if I want to work in cross-section mode still, if I'm more familiar with this design in a 2D layout, just go in cross-section. We'll angle that. Make sure we angle that the right way. And now I can see that in a 2D layout, making these changes again, pulling on any of these, holding down Shift to easily snap to other geometry, changing the inner diameter of that tube, changing any of these layouts, or using the Move command to recenter the center of that pulley, or move those side to side. So very easy to create 3D geometry off of that 2D print in SpaceClaim. Another application that's really great for using SpaceClaim in a manufacturing sense is creating production processes and different steps in the creation of your part. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in a step file here, or a SolidWorks file of this input shaft. So this input shaft comes in, and you can see that this would likely be a turning operation that we'd use to create this part. But I'm going to use SpaceClaim to go through the different steps of that turning process and create different production steps. So let's start by making some simplifications to some of these steps. You can see the hex shape on the back part here. Perhaps I don't want that to be a hex right away. I'd like to keep that as a cylinder shape to make it easier to turn. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate that around, creating a profile, turning that quickly into a cylindrical shape. This cutout here, that'll be added in a later step, so we can just go ahead and pull on those faces to remove that. And the knurl on this section, might want to get rid of that. That's obviously going to be a separate step. So we'll just create a quick circle and pull that across using the pull up to reference the opposite side. And if we think we might need some extra material there just to be safe, just pull on that to change the radius. Make that 17.5 to add a little bit of give there. For these teeth, of course, I'd want to get rid of the extra material there, so I can just go ahead and fill that in. Again, if we wanted to, we could add extra material as much as we want there. We want to simplify this step down as well. So let's go into a cross-section view. And we'll just use our cylinder tool to go in and add a cylinder. Adding material right away. And so now we have my rough process defined for this input shaft. We can keep going further here, and let's break this down to a nice view of the cross section. And we'll make a couple more modifications to show off the first step in this manufacturing process of the turning operation. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe get rid of that end hole using the fill command, and we'll get rid of some of the detail here using the pull command to pull up to reference some of this geometry, simplifying our model. Getting this prepared for the rough turning operation. Again, using pull up to and the shift reference. Maybe this small gap here is a little bit too narrow for our initial tooling. So we'll add that draft in there to give a little more clearance space, adding a precise value to the original draft that we had. Maybe we want to add a couple rounds in there for the tooling. I can go in and pull on those edges, adding 2mm rounds to both of those rounds, and maybe bumping this up maybe to allow for the appropriate clearance for the tool. So you can see how easily we can create all of these production steps and even go in and save this out as a DXF file for our production process. So we can save this back out as a DWG or a DXF. Whatever file type our downstream customer is looking for, we can provide that out of SpaceClaim. And when we're ready, we can put all of these different views that we've created together to create a nice production process, showing off our final design and all the different turning operations right back from a 2D print for CAM. So we can create all of these very easily using SpaceClaim. I have another model here saved as a SpaceClaim document that, as you can see when you're looking at this, if this were created all as one solid, it would come out of solid block stock, and might be a very costly part to make this way. So in SpaceClaim we can easily manipulate this solid, playing around with a couple different ideas here. Using the split solid tool, we can say split this up into 3 different solids. Change the color of that just for display. And maybe this is an easier way to make this, because we can make one of these bent into the L bracket, and then there's just the 2 capping regions. If we're going to make it this way, we might want to add some bolt holes to fixture these together. So I can easily come in and sketch a circle, dimension from the back, from the bottom corner, 3/16 on one side, 3/16 off the other, and define our hole, whatever diameter we want. And then use the move command to copy that sketch over 1¼ inches. And we can just take those and pull those all the way through, adding those bolt holes on each side. And again, very easy manipulation here. We can see that this is running into the round here. Maybe we want to move that out of the way. So I can just go in and select what I'd like to move, the holes on both sides, and just move those around freely, moving them 1/4 inch to make sure that they don't interfere with that hole. Easily create those bolt holes, and now I have the updated view of this part, split into 3 separate sections. So I'll create this as 3 separate parts in my manufacturing process. Finally, in the manufacturing workflow, we can easily play around with the design. Maybe instead of initially trying to create this part that I'm bringing in as a molded part, maybe we want to machine this instead. So as I bring this in, you can see that the initial design of this part, when we were going to mold this, well, it has draft on it, a lot of rounds. Maybe we want to get rid of some of that. So if I go into a cross-section view, you can see that draft there on both sides. Well, in SpaceClaim, to make sure that we're drafting both sides appropriately, I can use my offset tool to easily find all offsets of the same width. It'll go in and identify those all the way around the model, so that now when I go in to pull on all 4 of these faces to change the draft about the top face, when I change that to 0, it'll draft both the inner and the outer faces simultaneously. You can see that as I go back to a cross-section view. I can also get rid of some geometry here. I've got the raised text on top that might be difficult in the machining, the first machining step. So let's go in and just fill that in. Maybe these small holes as well. Use power select to find all holes of an equal size. Pull on them simultaneously. Or use the fill command to remove those from view. Removes them on both sides. Maybe we want to get rid of some of these holes here as well. So the big hole up on top, grab that. The big hole on the front, box select that. And just use the fill command to fill both in simultaneously. It's really easy just to select whatever we don't want for the initial machining. And use the fill command to fill those in. The power select makes this very easy as well, because I can just select a couple of faces on my geometry and then use the power select on the left to grab all faces with the same area, filling everything in at the same time. So we've got our design here. Maybe we want to add some fixtures and clamps to hold this into place. Well, I can easily go in, add a little space here for that fixturing to hold onto. Let's go ahead and add a clamp in there. Well, in SpaceClaim we have access to the entire trace parts online library. We can access that from the file insert command and go straight to trace parts web. This loads a full online catalog of standard hardware. You can search by category or enter your search term and get the exact type of part that you're looking for. So we want a latch clamp for this rotary table. And I can search through all the different types, all the different manufacturers. View production prints of that design. Changing different variables, getting the exact part that I want, being able to preview that in this live online window. And then also straight from this online interface, I can insert the desired hardware straight into my SpaceClaim design. So all of this is available within SpaceClaim, just a quick web interface, and I have access to this huge hardware database. I can put any of that right into my design, saving a lot of time getting the right hardware to put into this assembly. Well, that gets inserted right away, creates a new component in my structure tree, and I can easily manipulate that to rotate and translate that into place. And I can even go ahead and use the move along trajectory option to go ahead and move that clamp around or create multiple copies of that, moving that around to all different corners of my design. Of course, these are all still related. So any changes that I'm making to one are going to be changed to all of the others all the way around. I can position those clamps right into place. SpaceClaim is also great for creating custom fixtures as well. So say I want to use SpaceClaim to design my own fixture that my tooling department is going to create. Well, I can go in and quickly get a nice cross-section view to design right off the geometry the exact fixture that I need. So I'll fit within this T groove and create a clamp that's going to overlap on top of that base. And pull that out. to the right width. We need a hole to clamp that down. So I can go in and create that hole, pull it straight through. And you can also see that there's an interference between these two parts. So of course with SpaceClaim, I can easily go in and use my combine tool to cut away material and get that right, that interference, removing that, adding a little bit of clearance between my clamp and my manufactured part. If I want to reuse the clamp, one of these components from the hardware clamp that I downloaded from Trace Parts, I can go in and easily copy that over using the move up to command to move that right into place. We can name our new clamp, open that up on its own, and create a quick production drawing to highlight exactly what we would need from our tooling department. So create a drawing sheet. We can see that there, add as many views as we want, manipulate the geometry or add dimensions and notes. So we can say, grab the faces of that design, move it up or down to fit that clamp in place. We're always working with the 3D geometry in SpaceClaim. So any changes that I make is always going to be reflected on all of these designs. So hopefully you can see some of the ways that we use SpaceClaim in the manufacturing process, creating custom tooling, using legacy data, 2D to 3D, or creating production process steps to show all the different processes that we would use. Also creating different ideas on how we might create a part, showing the cut and paste operations and slice and dice functionality within SpaceClaim. So thank you for joining me for this demonstration of SpaceClaim's application in the manufacturing space. And for more information, please visit spaceclaim.com.